Hey, I'm Rob Adler, and welcome to Understanding Upstate, the podcast dedicated to exploring what makes upstate New York such a unique place. Each week, my co-host Jim Search and I dive into a new upstate topic to better understand what's up upstate, and this week we're talking about the freedom fighter abolitionist, Stephen Myers.
Hell yeah. Let's get...
Woo!
I was reading about this dude before we got in. I'm like, this guy is fucking badass, man. And I didn't know anything about him.
Me neither.
I had no clue he existed. I mean, he had worked with you know what? We're gonna wait till we get there.
Save it for the pod.
Yeah, as they say, as they're wont to say. You know what I mean?
Look, I was just excited for a legitimate reason to go read newspapers because he was involved with a couple, and usually when I'm looking for headlines, it's just to stir up controversy. So this is a nice legitimate reason to be looking at old historical newspapers.
Yeah, I would be really upset if Stephen was like a philanderer, or like there was just like if there was some blemish on the character. I mean, look,
sure,
nobody's perfect, and one of the steps America does with freedom fighters such as Stephen Myers is assassinate the character, because then that delegitimizes the movement. But you know what, folks? That's not what Understanding Upstate's all about. We're not.
No.
You picked the wrong podcast if that's what you think we're doing.
Hey, speaking of assassinating one's character, I have to offer an apology from a bit of a spelling snafu from last week's episode. If someone may have noticed, so it was fixed, but I have to offer a retraction in a Upstate Update Apology Edition. I haven't done the little ditty in a while. I feel like it's been a minute.
I was going to say, man, you missed out.
It's no secret to you that I have trouble with keeping the correct pronunciation of the Triple Cities in my memory. I've called it the Tri-Cities off mic before, which is some Iowa bullshit. And I generally am the person who puts in the titles and the episode descriptions, and I typed in Triple Cities, CITYS, I believe, and of course the correct spelling is CITIES. And you very quickly alerted me to this fact, and it was remedied. But for anyone who may have seen it, I just want to offer a sincere apology for misspelling and misrepresenting the Triple Cities.
Well, you know what? I think with that apology, because we talked a little bit about it before off mic, it's about the apology, right?
Sure.
And I think the Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's out there, the Triple Cities branch, that arm of our of our outfit, of the millions of folks that tap in every week, I think they're gonna let us slide.
Hey, look, if they don't, I'm willing to swim into the confluence, and if I make it back, all is forgiven. If not, well, you got to find yourself a new co-host.
No way, man. That would be really sad if you swam off into the nether voids, man. I want to see that. Listen, I'll say this as a resident of the Triple Cities is been called worse.
Sure.
They have dedicated. Listen, I'll tell you something. They have dedicated like full YouTube videos to being like, upstate New York sucks. Here's the 10 worst places in upstate New York. So I've seen some real vile shit about upstate New York. But you know what? It was an error. It was it was a slight. It was remedied promptly. I'll say that. You were on it.
It's true.
It was fixed quick, fast, in a hurry. So look, all is forgiven, man.
I appreciate it.
I'm gonna speak on behalf of Binghamton. How about that?
Oh my God!
on behalf of the 607.
Things are getting official.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is huge. Nah, you're good, man. We fuck with you. Without you, there would be no documentary.
That's
Come
true.
on now.
That's true.
Well,
I'll stop shedding a little Southern tear if
that was good
over my mistake.
that was a good one. That was pretty tough. I like that. I like what we did there. We had didn't we there another upstate update. Homegirl was on Jeopardy.
It's true.
She was a Binghamton native.
I have a Binghamtonian on Jeopardy, and I believe she lost by $1 in Final Jeopardy. Also got a sexist question that the host had to apologize for.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I read about that. I didn't. Did you watch it?
I didn't. Okay. Not a good look, Jeopardy. Not a good look. I believe the host didn't know that, he didn't write the question. I believe an apology in this situation was also offered promptly and quickly.
The PR team over in Burbank whipped that up real quick and said we made a mistake. It was an error on our part. We learned, we grew, and I just want to say that we really learned a lot from this.
That's true. Although I did see a really nice quote from the Binghamtonian in a very in a Rod Serling-esque kind of way. She said she had a great time, and it was just the sentiment was it was an honor to represent Binghamton on TV.
Hell yeah,
to be there for Binghamton. I was like, what? This is delightful. This is
Oh, that's great, man. I like to hear that sort of shit. Because, it's Rod Serling and her. That's it.
There you go.
That's it. And King Rice, as far as our notable our Wikipedia celebs.
Sure.
You can Wikipedia. You can also Wikipedia my man Steve Russner. Shout out to my homie Steve Russner. He is in the world of Wikipedia. He won a Grammy.
Okay. Oh,
dude won a Grammy.
Should he be on the episode list?
We could, yeah. Understanding upstate music. He was in the music scene in upstate.
Oh my God!
Throw
Steve Russner. We're throwing him. He's going on the list.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got to start.
I mean, Grammy is okay, but being on our future episode list, it's even higher accolade, I think.
Yeah. Which one do you put on a resume? Let's be honest with
you. Yeah. Number 85 on the Understanding Upstate episode suggestion list. And look, we don't do everything on the list, so it's it's just an honor to be nominated, of course. Sure. But, particularly if you can bring home the Golden Speedy, that's even it's an even bigger reward.
Yeah. What's a great reward for folks? Is if they subscribed, rated, and reviewed our show. Honestly. You share it with a friend.
What a professional transition. You're getting this for free. This is free. Seamless. I didn't even know that one was coming.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. It's almost as if I might have done this before. I might have been on a mic many years ago.
It was so good. I'm gonna have to edit it to make it sound a little less perfect, right? Just so it sounds real. It's gonna sound too good.
Yeah. Well, if it's one thing about me, it's my commitment to excellence, I guess. I don't know.
There you go.
Well, make sure you put a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts and let us know your favorite upstate location or person in the review. And it can even be anybody who's been on Jeopardy. Choice is yours.
There you go.
The choice is yours.
Well, it's our choice as to whether we start or don't start this episode. What will it be, Jim?
Can you imagine? I was like, all right, guys, listen, you've been great. Thank you for tuning in.
That's my time.
I've enjoyed the time here. It's just been great to represent Binghamton on this podcast. You guys have been great. You guys have been real gems. No, hell no. We got some shit to talk about here today. And we are going to get into a real badass dude, man. I'm really pumped to shed some light. We like to inform and entertain, and we're going to do that for you here today because we're going to talk about Stephen Myers. All right?
Well, let's do it.
Born circa 1800, died February 13th, 1870. Stephen Myers was an abolitionist and agent of the Underground Railroad through the 1830s into the 1850s. He was also the editor of multiple abolitionist newspapers, such as The Elevator, The Northern Star, and Freedmen's Advocate, and The Telegraph and Temperance Journal. In 2022, posthumously, Myers was inducted into the National Abolition Hall of Fame, which I didn't even know existed. I didn't know there was a Hall of Fame. But that, pretty fucking awesome.
It's in upstate New York.
Yeah.
Peterborough. How about that?
We throw that on the list, man.
Number 86.
That's right.
Pretty cool.
Hell yes. All right. Let's talk about Stephen's birth and early life. Stephen Myers was born a slave in Hoosick, New York, around the year 1800. At the age of 18, he was given his freedom by Lieutenant Colonel Warren of Vermont. He met Harriet Johnson and married her in Troy, New York in 1827. Stephen and his wife resided in numerous houses in the city of Albany before moving to 198 Lumber Street. Now, background. We're going to get into a little bit of his story, of his accolades and all of the amazing things he had done. Stephen and his wife Harriet provided safe houses for freedom seekers and supplied them with financial support through the Vigilance Committee. He also organized the Florence Farming and Lumber Association, an economic development project, and was the vice president of the American Council of Colored Laborers, a trade and skills organization. Did you sleep ever, Stephen? Stephen, did you find time to sleep? For fuck's sake. It doesn't stop there, though. Following these roles, he served as a central actor of the New York State Suffrage Association by lobbying the New York State Legislature for African American suffrage. So not only was he saving black folks from slavery, but he was also franchising them with their right to vote, which, by the way, is a very important right, and you should exercise it when you can. A later historian claims Myers helped found the African American school in the city at what is now the Israel African Methodist Episcopal Church. That's a lot. On Hamilton Street. Myers was the first superintendent of the school at the African Methodist Episcopal Church. He fought successfully to establish clearer voting rights for African Americans, starting the Albany Suffrage Club and serving as president of the New York State Suffrage Association. So much suffrage. Personally lobbying state legislators. He also vocally opposed the use of public funds to buy land in Africa and repatriate slaves there. Myers became a member of the Albany Vigilance Committee in the 1850s and served as the organization's chairman for more than 3 years. I'm telling you, this story, by the way, folks, we know about like Frederick Douglass, right? Because he's also a upstate civil rights activist who was buried in Rochester. But Stephen Myers feels like the Bayard Rustin of this time, right? Which is like a just unsung hero, a quintessential unsung hero, because I consider myself to be a little bit of a civil rights buff. Had no idea this dude was in upstate New York doing this incredible work.
You're not even halfway through his background.
We're not even there's so much more to get into, right? The fundraising and primary return address for correspondence for the Vigilance Committee was run through the Myers home address, which also served as a safe house for freedom seekers during their escape to the north. He assisted escapees from slavery 4 years later. He is also active in the African American community that is established in Albany from 1813 on. Many of its members had settled in Arbor Hill, often living in racially integrated working class neighborhoods. Now, Myers is noted as an important contributor and agent of the Underground Railroad, as we had talked about before, by many different abolitionists. He collaborated with Samuel Ringgold Ward on journalistic activities, spoke at the Liberty Street Presbyterian Church, pastored by Henry Highland Garnett, and shared the speaking stage with Frederick Douglass, Freddie D, for short. Myers advocated for work and education opportunities within the African American community, raised money for those causes personally. Among his supporters were John Clarkson Jay, the grandson of John Jay, as in like the John Jay, an early governor of New York and the first Chief Justice in the United States. Wow. I'm telling you, there's a lot here to unpack.
There'll be a quiz at the end of the episode.
Listen, there's a lot for y'all to grow on and one for you to learn on. So on behalf of this podcast, I'm happy to bring this to you. Now, Rob, I've talked a little bit about the background, and there's so much more. What else was he up to?
He worked in newspapers.
One of your favorite things.
I know. And yeah, like I said, in a little bit, we'll have some excerpts from one of the papers he worked with. But let's get into his work in newspaper publishing. So his first venture was The Elevator, which took place briefly during this period. Later in the decade, Myers became involved with the Northern Star Association, which assisted escaping slaves and published a newspaper, the Northern Star and Freedman's Advocate, which is one newspaper.
Right.
Its articles and editorials, many written by Myers, argued against slavery and for temperance and African American self-help, education, and employment. The association was initially a rival to Albany's older Vigilance Committee, whose membership was drawn from a wider base, including the city's more established African American families and many religious denominations that vocally opposed slavery. The Vigilance Committee also published a newspaper called The Tocsin of Liberty. The two organizations, through their newspapers, criticized each other for not doing an effective job of assisting those escaping from slavery and freedmen in the Albany area who already had.
See, this is what makes me mad right here. I'm not going to lie. You can't be tearing each other down here. Y'all got to be working together, which eventually we do. But just had to get my feelings out there. All right, go.
All right. At one point, shortly after the association had been founded, the Tocsin accused Myers of pocketing money meant for the committee. That's
a strong claim, and I'm not here for that.
Some would say that's slander.
I would. Someone else will call it bullshit.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
I'm gonna call it bullshit.
In fact, he had only accepted the money on behalf of the association, since it was from whom the money was intended rather than the committee. In the mid-1840s, the animosity between the two cooled following the deaths of two prominent clergymen in the Vigilance Committee, both in martyrdom to the cause. Abel Brown, a Baptist minister, contracted fatal pneumonia on a trip to Western New York, where he was preaching against slavery. The other, Charles Torrey, who had been one of Myers' chief accusers, was arrested in Maryland for assisting escaped slaves and died in prison there 2 years later. Back in Albany, the two groups effectively merged, and Stephen Myers became chair of the enlarged Vigilance Committee.
See, and that's what makes me happy, right? So that we have seen that we are stronger together than we are divided. Fact.
There we go. Myers eventually also merged the Northern Star with another newspaper known as the True American to create the Imperial Citizen, which published out of Syracuse, New York. This paper ceased publication 2 years later after its editor and publisher, Samuel Reinhold Ward, fled to Canada after his involvement in the Jerry Rescue.
Sounds wild.
Which was in 1851, October 1st. It was basically the public rescue of a fugitive slave who'd been arrested the same day in Syracuse during the Anti-Slavery Liberty Party's state convention. The escaped slave was named William Henry and was a 40-year-old Cooper from Missouri whose slave name was Jerry. So yeah, I wanted to just find some samples of kind of what this newspaper, the main one, Northern Star and Freeman's Advocate, was like. Just because, Jim, as we've talked about, I love looking at old newspapers for some reason.
It's old newspapers and canals.
It's true. Oh my God, when the two meet, whoo!
Yeah, that's huge.
It's great. No canals today, but it was still a good dig. And really kind of from what I could gather, the Northern Star and Freeman's Advocate was a real mix of articles. There's a lot of local news and updates, stories, anecdotes, poetry, a lot of poetry, some of this all directly relating to the abolitionist movement. And news relating to the worldwide abolitionist movements. And then there's other things just like advertisements for businesses that are friendly to the Black community and just more day-to-day kind of things, but still essential if you're in this community. So Jim, I'm gonna start with a poem.
All right.
if you will, called The Northern Star. I think I may have said at some point we'll never do poetry on this podcast, but I'm breaking the rule today.
Well, I feel like there's article exceptions, right?
Indeed. Article exception? I see what you did there.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, here's this article called The Northern Star. Star of the North, whose placid ray beamed mildly o'er yon sacred hill, while whispering zephyrs seemed to say, as silence slept and earth was still, all hail, thou harbinger of gospel light, dispel the shades of natural rights, and wake to ecstasy the lands. Sweet cherubs, hail thy rising ray, and sing the dawn of gospel day. Shine, lovely star, on every clime, for brightly peerless beauties be. Gild with thy beam the wing of time, and shed thy rays from sea to sea. Then shall the world from darkest rise and advocate the freeman's cause. Oh my God, I got some snaps. Wow. Yeah. All right. I mean, it wasn't my poem, but
Sure.
And that was written by SFB, whoever that may be.
I mean, an advocate for those who cannot. I'm into it.
Indeed. And that was from February 3rd, 1842. Again, yeah, there's as I was kind of, the Library of Congress has, I think it was at least 10 issues, and I think it's partial issues available online. Just as I was flipping through, a lot of poetry. There's some Longfellow in there and stuff.
Oh, wow.
As well. So, things written by contributors, other just general poetry. But this was an article from January 2nd, 1843 called Texas, which you can imagine, we'll find out, not good.
Yeah. I mean, historically. Anyway.
Here we go. So Texas, January 2nd, 1843. Let abolitionists be on their guard and not be deceived by quieting rumors. We have it from high authority too well informed to be mistaken that the slaveholders were never more intent upon their favorite plan of annexing Texas than at the present moment.
Let them go.
Yeah, I mean, and just some subtext. This is before Texas was a state. I think they became a state in 46. Literally, we annexed them. And basically, American slaveholders wanted to do it because they could have access to more land to bring in more slaves.
Yep.
back to the article here. They are doubtless ready to spring the trap at any favorable moment. Let no abolitionists be lulled to sleep by the disclaimer of General Hamilton, who says he would rather not have Texas belong to the United States. Cats have covered themselves with meal before, now, to catch old rats. Neither let them be too sure that the rumored mediation of France and England between Mexico and Texas is going to avert the danger of annexation. It is indeed deceitful to foretell what will be the result of this plotting and unplotting, but one thing is certain, abolitionists have need to keep wide awake, for no single event involves such disastrous consequences to the cause of freedom as this. And there was a little bit more, but I'll leave it off there. So there's updates on the current global and countrywide events that are affecting the cause, right? So you have this mix of poetry, so like real news, and as we'll see in a second, like local news as well.
Indeed.
All right, we'll finish off with just a couple things here. This is just there's a lot of little anecdotes or just little phrases and sayings, just like we've got a quarter inch left at the end of this column. What are we going to put in here?
Right.
And on February 10th,
we paid for it. We're getting it.
Well, that was an issue. They found one thing where, like, hey, we're not weekly anymore. People weren't paying for the paper. We're going monthly. If you see this one guy who's supposed to be distributing the newspapers, he's not distributing them then anymore. Don't talk to him.
I like it. Run their coin.
Yeah. So this is, a little saying, knowledge is silver among the poor, gold among the nobles, and a jewel among the princes. Be ready to hear, careful to contrive, slow to advise. Followed up by, persons wishing to obtain this paper can have it by calling on the agent at the office number 46, Green Street, Albany.
I like it.
Indeed, me too.
They got their business together.
It's true. Like a little bit of wisdom with just a quick ad right at the end. And then there's tons of local advertisements, slash classifieds. Like one I found was for a furnisher, undertaker, and superintendent of the Albany Cemetery Coffin Warehouse, numbers 62 and 64 Green Street. It's got hearses, carriages, and other requisites for funerals supplied on the lowest terms. Which I was just the phrase "coffin warehouse" was really, really arresting.
Yeah,
really.
That's got a bite to it.
It does. And you got to keep them somewhere, I guess, right? And then again, there's ads for another one I found was for like a just cheap temperance grocery and provision store, which led me to look up just like the temperance movement and the abolitionist movements and how they were connected, and learned that they're very early on at this period connected because slave labor was so heavily involved in the production and movement of alcohol that those two causes were intertwined.
Which I'm shooting from the hip on this, but I feel like, is it Jack Daniels was created by a slave during that time? There was some liquor that was in fact created by someone enslaved and was taken over by some white dude.
It's either that or Jim Beam. That is, that's sounding correct.
That was a totally butchered retelling of that. As I sit in front of a computer that could accurately tell me the story. But
hey, this isn't understanding bourbon, right?
No.
This is
understanding upstate, baby.
There you go. All right. So yeah, again, these newspapers served a real local, day-to-day interest, but again, kind of tied together the national and international causes. A lot of mention of, abolitionists working in Europe as well through a lot of the other articles that I was reading. So next thing we're going to move on to is the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence. It was located on Livingston Avenue in Albany, New York. It was a Greek Revival townhouse built in the mid-19th century, and in 2004 it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it was also listed on the New York State Underground Railroad Heritage Trail, and is a site on the National Park Service's National Network to Freedom.
See,
pretty cool.
All of this lays under our noses here. Again, I'm legitimately blown away by how much history is here that I'm just now learning about. And there's a reason why I'm just learning about it. Anyway.
Back to 1847, when the house was constructed. So in 1847, John Johnson, African-American who captained a sailboat named Miriam in the slips near the base of Livingston Avenue, then called Lumber Street due to the large homes of the many lumber company executives built near the slips, built the house at what was then number 198. The neighborhood at the time was predominantly working class, with many residents working on the boats or slips for the executives down the hill. City directories of the era shown Abram Johnson living nearby, and according to the 1855 census, John was his son and Harriet, who married Stephen Myers, his daughter. John Johnson owned the house. It is not known under what arrangement Stephen Myers and his family lived there. No architect is known. It seems to have been a standard Albany row house of the mid-19th century. It is distinguished as an Albany townhouse from otherwise similar structures in Troy by its rear stairwell with its 180-degree turns and dropped windows. Johnson and his builders seem to have followed the plan strictly, leaving the sides windowless, even though there's little likelihood that an attached structure would later be built next door, since there was already a house in the rear that needed street access.
There it is.
So 1871 to present, decline and restoration. After the Myers family, the house passed through a succession of other owners, and by the middle of the 20th century, it was unoccupied and was showing signs of urban decay. Many of the surrounding houses from the previous century in the Arbor Hill neighborhood were demolished based on a 1962 urban renewal plan. The Myers house, along with some of the older houses near it, was spared. The neglect continued, however, and by the 21st century, the house had become country property through tax foreclosures. Local historian Paul Stewart and his wife, Mary Liz, great name. For two first names for a lady, you don't get that very often. You get Well, I will be frank, as they say, don't trust anyone who has two first names. I wonder what Paul Stewart is up to as well. Although they both have two first names, Paul Stewart and Mary Liz. That's the
thing is that I've just met people who have two first names, and that adage has rung true, and I should not have trusted them, and they weren't very good people. So I hope Paul Stewart and Mary Liz can prove this to be wrong.
All right.
I hope you come down on the right side of history.
Well, after researching Myers and his work, they formed the Underground Railroad History Project of the Capital Region, hosting an annual conference on slavery with speakers from around the world starting in 2001. The group was able to buy the property from the county in 2004 for $1,500, which is $2,400 in today's money. That is inexpensive.
That's kind of wild that that house is going for that. Like, there's parts of like upstate New York, like if you go on Zillow, that are like, in like some real gnarly spots, and the houses are like $500, and it's like, I'm good.
$500 and a lifetime of work to to put those back together.
And as they say,
Unfortunately.
you don't move into a house or an apartment, you move into the neighborhood.
Just leave it at that. Indeed. All right. Well, for the next several years, the organization raised money to restore the house with the goal of making it a historical museum devoted to Myers and the local Underground Railroad. The state's Environmental Protection Fund gave them a $50,000 grant at first. I can tell you right now, that is not enough money to fix a $2,000 house.
Yeah. I was skeptical.
By 2007, when the first work got underway, over $500,000 had been raised. 4 years later, the EPF came through with a $350,000 grant, a quarter of which had to be matched. The exterior restoration was completed in 2015, the same year the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence was opened to the public. In 2021, the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence became part of the African American Civil Rights Network.
All right.
Pretty cool.
It sounds like Paul Stewart and Mary Liz have been the exceptions to the rule of having two first names. I mean, we haven't dug all the way into their lives.
Sure.
I mean, they could be the liberal. They could be the limousine liberals that I have grown to despise in my life. But we'll leave that for another time.
No, we'll leave that for a future episode. I'll go dig in the newspaper stacks on both of them and see what I can pull up.
See what the deal is.
Until further notice, they seem all right.
Sure.
All right. So later life and death of Stephen. The 1850s were difficult times for anti-slavery activists, particularly those involved in running the Underground Railroad. Due to the passage of a tougher Fugitive Slave Act, which required law enforcement in all states to assist in the recapture of those escaping from slavery and increase penalties against those who assisted escapees. And already before this point, he had colleagues that were killed, right? Like we were talking about, or had to flee the country already.
Right.
So it's not like it was an easy thing before, right? All right, so at this point, Myers started another newspaper, the Telegraph and Journal, but closed it again in 1855, imploring subscribers in its last issue to subscribe instead to Douglas's newspaper to further the cause. In 1850, Myers had been elected to the executive committee of the American League of Colored Laborers, part of his continuing activism beyond abolition. 2 years later, he stepped down as chair of the Vigilance Committee, but continued his efforts for the Underground Railroad. In early 1856, the Vigilance Committee passed a resolution honoring him for having assisted 287 fugitives in less than a year.
See, that's a Lord's work right there, man.
That's almost a person a day.
Yeah.
That's crazy. A later historian of African American abolitionists wrote that Myers's house had the reputation of being the best run part of the Underground Railroad in the state.
Dang.
Badass.
I like
that. Paul Stewart, who coming back again. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see what this is all about.
A historian who had worked on the restoration of the house says the Myers were very open about what they were doing and hospitable to the fugitives who passed through. When you say Underground Railroad, you think a lot of the secrecy and people hiding corners, but the closer you look at things, the more you learn. They entertained people at their dinner table. They probably had them sleeping in the upstairs bedroom. It's not like they were hiding them in the basement. Myers sent many of them onto stations at Syracuse or Oswego. Some went directly north, the shorter route to Canada, usually via steamboats along Lake Champlain. Myers spent the rest of his life aiding the Underground Railroad and recruiting for the United States colored troops. His wife Harriet died in 1865. Myers himself died 5 years later at his son's Jefferson Street home in Albany on February 13th, 1870. He was buried at Albany Rural Cemetery.
Rest in peace.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, man. What a soldier, man. What a soldier on the right side of history, dude.
Yeah.
It is.
How did you because this was something you added to our list. Did you do you remember how you found out about him in the first place?
I do. I was looking up abolitionists in upstate New York and civil rights leaders in upstate New York, and his name popped up. And through like I felt like, I put this on the list a while ago, but like I felt like I had to do like a little bit of digging because it was like his name was just kind of mentioned, and then I was like, oh, okay, let me do some more research and see exactly what the deal was. So I'm like, oh, okay, this had legs, and so that is how I found out about Stephen Myers.
All right.
Upstate badass.
Well, hey, you know what? That's how you found out about Stephen Myers. But you know how people can find out about our podcast? By you subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show. What a transition. Man, again, nailing it. Woo.
Doesn't get better than this. Doesn't get any better than this.
It doesn't. We're 2 for 2, baby.
That's right. That's right.
But again, that really helps us out. Again, just sharing an episode with a friend that does us a lot of good over here at Old Understanding Upstate. So do that for us. And Jim,
yes.
After they've done that, what are some things that our Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's can check out?
All right. Let's say you are on the right side of history, right? Let's say you're being the good fighter against evil. You're fighting against injustice at every possible turn, be it slavery, be it trafficking, whatever human rights that you're fighting against, right? You've got you're in your meeting, right? You're meeting with your fellow freedom fighters. And, you want to have a little bit of a reprieve because you can't fight all the time. You can't do it. You got to have a break because you need rest to fight. Don't forget that, folks. In that rest period, here's what you do is you put on another Upstate Icons album. Another legend from upstate New York. Me. That's right. You didn't see that coming, did you? Me. You put on my album, Upstate Understandings. It's a comedy album. You're going to love it. It is available on all digital streaming platforms. You can buy the physical copies at jimsearch.bandcamp.com. I got 10 copies left on the vinyl front. I'm down to the low double digits on the CD and tape front. So by all means, get over to jimsearch.bandcamp.com. Let's say you're on the Sirius XM world. If you fuck with that, I am on Pure Comedy, Channel 98. So be sure to tune in for that. You might hear my voice. It's been spun a couple times. Really pumped about that. We went to outer space with this motherfucker.
Outer space and back?
We didn't just stay up there. Didn't just stay up at Mars.
No.
Brought it on back. So go do that. JimSearchComedy.com is a good place to find out about all the shows and shit that I'm up to. I will be at the Bushwick Comedy Club on November 14th at 8:30 p.m. Pull on up for that. I'm going to a potluck next week, but I don't think you guys are invited to that. That's more of like a personal front. Sure. It's our friend of ours is moved into a place, so like we got to go hang out there. So that's not on the calendar, but what is on the calendar is the Bushwick Comedy Club, November 14th. Pull on up for that. It's going to be a great time. And follow me on all the social medias at Jim Search because branding is important. Rob. They're bummed they can't go to the housewarming potluck that I got going on, right? Is there anything that you can cheer them up? Is there anything that can bring them out of that funk? Because I know they're really angling to do it.
Yeah, that's a good way to posit the question because the angle I was going to take is you're bummed for another reason too, right? Like,
sure.
Let's just say you host a hyper-regional podcast that focuses on one particular region of the country and talks about even more specifically one smaller region within that region, a sub-region, if you will, even more than any of the other sub-regions of that region. Are you following? Right?
I am. I know where you're going.
And let's just say you make the grave mistake of misspelling one of the names for that sub-region on, again, your very specific podcast that you've been doing for at least a year. And you have to wait a whole week before you have even a shred of hope at redemption, right? When you can address it with your fans.
Sure.
You're going to go grab my album, New York Sticky, available at brooklynfrequency.bandcamp.com. Put it on. The next week's going to just fly by. You're not going to forget about it because you are very remorseful and very sorry for the grave errors you've made. But it's going to help you wrestle with the mistake, come to terms with it, and acceptance, and move forward from it. That's a guarantee. But only in that hyper-specific situation. Can't guarantee it.
This sounds very familiar. It's almost as if we might have lived through this.
No, this is purely hypothetical.
Purely hypothetical.
Purely hypothetical.
Yeah, this lives in the abstract, right? This is
yes.
This is in real time. Got it.
But yeah, purely hypothetical. But you never know. You may find yourself in that exact situation at a moment's notice. So go grab my album just in case. Just in case. Jim.
Yes.
What are we talking about next week? I don't even need to do a transition because the other two were so good.
They were great, man.
Straight to it.
Getting right to it, man. Well, I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a substantial spread next week that I hope that you're going to be a part of. Dare I even say a dollop or even a schmear. But
wow.
No, it's going to be there.
And hey, we're going to be here next week, but right now, we got to get out of here. And to do that, we need a terrible up pun in the form of a closing transition. Let's see if we're batting 4 for 4 today, Jim. What do you
All right.
what do you think?
I mean, listen, let's see what we got. Let's make it do what it do.
Well, Jim, I need to go look up at the Northern Star, so let's get on out of here.
Yeah, 4 for 4.
Whoa!
4 for 4.
We did it. We did it. We might just not come back next week. I don't know.
No, don't you dare. I'm not letting Adam Rodkey down like that. Don't you dare do that.
That's true.
I'm not here for that, dog.
I never would, Adam. I never would.
Yeah. Understanding Upstate is a podcast hosted by Jim Search and Rob Adler, edited by Rob Adler, and music from Regal Monk.